Welcome to Betrayal Trauma Recovery. This is Anne. I have a member of our community on today's episode. We're going to call her Ruby. You'll hear about how she went to therapy with her husband, hoping to heal their marriage. Instead, it gave him control over the narrative. As Ruby puts it,
when he finally did agree to marriage counseling, he loved it because now he had a narrative, but he didn't want to talk about anything that was actually real. He ended up getting mad.
if your husband has betrayed your trust, lied to you, or left you feeling confused about what's really happening, it's natural to think maybe we just need couple therapy. That's actually the most common thing to think. When a marriage feels unstable, going for help is like a really smart thing to do. But after interviewing over 200 women who told me about their husband's lies, I learned something most women aren't told upfront. Couples therapy often makes things worse when deception is involved. In fact, most of the time, a woman doesn't know her husband is lying. So when they start couple therapy, it seems like it's going to work, and they could do multiple sessions where she probably thinks they're making progress, but eventually she realizes they're just going in circles. And even then, she doesn't realize it's because he's been lying to her the whole time. Couples therapy backfires if one person is lying because couples therapy is only designed for two people who are honest and transparent. And because lies are always involved in betrayal, going to couple therapy for betrayal often shifts the focus away from his choices and onto relationship dynamics and fixing communication issues. If you've been trying to figure out if couple therapy will help, or if you've been going to couple therapy for years and you've started to realize you're going in circles, or if you've thought, this therapist hasn't worked, maybe a different couple therapist could help us, this interview will give you clarity. Welcome, Ruby.
Thank you, Anne. I feel privileged to be here and help other women in my situation, if you will, to feel like they're not alone.
Let's start with your story.
We met through a mutual friend who has since totally seen all that he is and is so devastated for me. I remember my husband saying to me that he wanted to pursue someone else and realized I was easier to con.
Wow.
Yes, her parents and their relationship was more stable. Mine wasn't. She had an extremely aware mom that was a force to be reckoned with and a really good dad. For me, scripture was used in a not great place where I knew I could not leave my childhood home unless I was married.
Looking back, you realize that wasn't true. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Technically, I could have left, but there was such a condemnation that went with it. Like, oh, you shouldn't do that because to leave without being married when we have God. We met when I was 19. He used the church, God, scripture to seem like he was this great man that wanted the life and the marriage and the family that I wanted. I thought I was going toward a good and righteous man. To me, he was full of life, fun. He said all the right things. We were long distance at the time, which really helped his con go well. He said it was always time well spent. And then getting married 14 months later, and I was pregnant. I had been pulled into premarital sex, which was never my plan. I'm a stubborn person, and it was never something that I ever wanted to do, but that was also part of the con. It devastated my family. It was really hard for me. I lived with that shame for years. I had people shun me and my family because of it. He never felt that shame.
I've talked with several women who have had this experience where it was not in their value system to have sex before they were married, but they were coerced and manipulated into having sex. They didn't realize they had been coerced at such a level.
Correct.
And then this quote unquote righteous guy, who's not righteous at all, who is just putting on this mask of righteousness, ends up using that against them pretty much the rest of their marriage. Has that been your experience too?
Yes, he used anything he could to break me down. He knew I felt guilty. He would have what I call lucid moments. He looked at me once and he told me that us sleeping together before we were married was 100% his fault. And then, like several weeks or months later, he completely backtracked, but he knew everything he'd done. He knew the truth.
And he likely knew the truth the entire time. That day, for some reason, he decided to tell you that small portion of the truth because he probably didn't tell you the whole truth about anything, but just that small portion he admitted.
Yeah.
I think they're just taking their mask off to sort of say, I've known this the whole time. And then they go back to pretending like they didn't know it.
Yes, I agree 100%. He would do that over the years where he would have these really extremely rare lucid moments where he would just say these things, and he knew what he was doing. At one point, he told me that the kids and I would be better off with another man. And then the next day denied it. He said it. So it definitely became a pattern.
These lucid moments that you're calling them, I also wonder if it's a different type of lie. I think, if she would just kick me out, it would look like it was her fault. So they tell the truth to try and get you to kick them out. Did you ever sense maybe that was the reason he told you that little bit of the truth on that one particular day?
Yes, I definitely think as the years went on, he wanted me to know somehow that he had the control,
Mm.
that he was able to twist it. It was extremely thought out. And it was passive aggressive. He wanted to make me seem extremely unstable. In the beginning, he got me, if you will. He'd been in the Navy and been wild and told me he didn't drink anymore after ending up waking up on the bathroom floor. That was fine with me because I was not a partying person. And he told me that he'd never slept with anyone before. But then he would allude to things, a coworker undressing herself in front of him. And I believed all of it. He ended up eventually being discharged from the military, and not honorably. Things were always someone else's fault. It was always a problem with what someone else did. I do not believe that he was a virgin when we got together. I think that was part of his con. That's how he got me. We've made this mistake together and we're meant to be. I now believe that to be a lie.
That's highly likely. So, you know all these things looking back with hindsight.
Yeah.
Let's go back in time. What did you think it was back then? Did you think maybe he was just stressed at work? What were your thoughts about what was causing the problems?
I think that I just thought that there was enough good to outweigh the bad, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
He was very family oriented. He cared about his parents. So I'm not really sure what I thought it was, other than that, oh, well, everyone has their mistakes or quirks as long as there's more rights than wrongs.
Did you ever think it was your fault? Did you ever think, well, if I did this better, maybe he wouldn't get mad or upset?
In the midst of the dating, no. He had a lot of honey and he made himself seem like the more stable one because he would tell me, you're really emotional. You really get excited about things. He was probably doing things I didn't understand, but definitely making himself look like, of course, you want to be with me. I'm a grounding force in your life. I can help you.
So as the relationship progresses and you're thinking, okay, well, this is just his personality and my messed up family has created some problems for me. Was there ever a point that you decided to go to couple therapy or get help from maybe clergy? And if so, how did that go?
Oh, I love this question. So he's adopted and has adopted sibling, and there was some issues with that. And so he's very against counseling. And he made this extremely known. Counseling messed me up as a kid. I don't do counseling. These kind of false statements about how trauma messed with him as a child and how his parents did it wrong. And what I should have caught on to before I answer your question is that he always talked very family oriented, but he always had something negative to say about his parents behind their backs. Always.
Mm.
It would happen daily sometimes. I started to notice that one a little bit when he would tell me I was so against them. I'm like, hold on. Our first experience in trying to do counseling, which he was very against, so it took a lot of convincing from me. It was totally screwed up. The couple that headed it up at the time clearly should not have been there. They wanted you to go through this whole personality test and how you would be compatible with each other. And I'm like, well, we're already married. So what are we trying to do here? And then they were very much on the topic of how your sex life was. And I'm thinking, I don't want to tell you. And so we didn't continue because what good was it going to do? A lot of ladies maybe don't understand that marriage counseling makes it worse, because when he finally did agree to it, he loved it because now he had a narrative. And so he told me that we needed marriage counseling and that was going to help, but he didn't want to talk about anything that was actually real. I wanted to talk about his behavior and his treatment of our son. He ended up getting mad. And I think when you go in for marital counseling or you go to your church or whoever you're asking for help, whenever you're not getting along as a couple, they just always assume that you're having marriage problems. And I don't know what all the right questions are, but I know that the church is asking the wrong questions.
They think maybe it's a communication issue, or maybe you're not having sex enough, or they say it's an anger management issue. That's what makes it so difficult is you're going to get help from someone. They misidentify the thing that you're describing. And then because it's misidentified, you go down the wrong road for a really long time. In my case, it was pornography addiction.
Yeah.
It might be true. They might be addicted to porn. They might have a personality disorder. But you would think therapists would know that it's abuse when you described it, but the average therapist does not. And even if they did know, they would not know what to do. They would just be like, this is couple therapy. So let's dig into your childhood trauma. We don't know. And the people that we go to for help also don't know.
And that's why I created the After Betrayal Clarity Kit so that women could get information about what to expect before they schedule couple therapy so they're not going in blind. My Clarity Kit has what 200 women who experienced betrayal told me they wished they knew. It's only $27, and you get answers so much faster than years of couple therapy, and it's way cheaper, obviously. So to get more information, go to btr.org/clarity.
Yes, they need to ask the right questions because my poor mom, I heard my mom say multiple times, regardless of what my dad did, that she was strong and she made her commitment under God to God in her marriage, regardless what my dad chooses to do or be. And the bondage that goes with that just devastates me.
People who've been listening to the podcast for a long time know that when I started podcasting, I sounded much different than I sound today. I'm much stronger. I'm happier. I too was like, I am not breaking my marriage vows, period. And I just waited and waited and waited. I did not want to disappoint God. Now I feel the opposite, where I feel like God is commanding women to separate themselves from evil and wickedness. And they make a decision, okay, I'm going to do this. And then clergy or family or something stops them. And then they might try again a little bit later. I've heard so many women lately tell me, yeah, God told me something was wrong 7 years ago, but I couldn't articulate why. So when I was trying to explain it, my clergy gave me bad advice. And I keep hearing that same story from all the women I've interviewed.
Which is why I created the Clarity Kit, so they could know what they needed to know actually before they went to get help.
There was a particular time I remember driving home sometimes and thinking I did not want to go home. And I would take the kids everywhere with me I possibly could, trying to juggle 4 kids. And in the midst of all this, we had gotten a puppy of all things. And I was like, God, I need some guidance. And my husband left of his own volition, packed his car 2 days before Father's Day. I tried to talk him out of it. I said, the kids have made you something for Father's Day. And please wait, they want to give it to you. And he said, I don't need any more meaningless crap. And he got in his car and he left. And at the end of that month, God spoke to me, and I don't say that lightly. He said, enough, you're done, let him go. Then he reached down and he took my husband out of my heart. And I couldn't really see past that moment because you're just barely starting to see. For any woman out there right now who feels condemnation, you didn't break your vow. You didn't do that. He did that, and you are still valuable. You are still precious, and you are still whole, and you're not damaged goods in God's eyes. You're just not. So what drives me to speak is to help the other women out there see you're not breaking up your family. His choices already did that. Despite anything that I tried to do, pretending like everything was okay and covering for him was only making it worse. And not speaking the truth was going to make it worse because he started getting more volatile and irrational. We become afraid of doing the wrong thing because if you think about it, at least in my experience, it was my job to make sure that his world was perfect, the house, the kids, because he trained me to control his world so that he could just function in it without having to have any self-control. But because he trained me to do that, say that I was very controlling. So I think that we're afraid of people not understanding and being condemned for doing the right thing. My good friend was told that she was a husband basher because she was speaking the truth. And I went, no, she is not. Yeah, but that was what she was told by their mutual friends because they were not willing to listen.
Or they just flat out just don't believe you and they believe your abuser.
Yeah, exactly.
So part of your healing process has been writing poetry. And you've written a poem called Unsafe Arms. And then I actually wrote a poem too, which I'm going to read after. So can you read that to us?
Yes. It feels as though the walls are closing in, being hurt like this by a supposed trusted friend. I gave so much and cared even more. Now at last, what was it all for? To be burned and thrown aside without a fleeting thought? You made me believe that I mattered to you. You did not care. You ruled me with threats and constant fear.
Thank you. I'm sure so many of our listeners are like me, and it felt like you were not just sharing from your own heart, but from all of our hearts. I really appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to share mine now. Mine was in response to when he showed up amazing in court and was able to get more custody. I prayed and fasted and had everybody pray for me, and then it didn't go the way I wanted it to or the way that it was right. And it made me think of during our marriage where every time I would just pray and fast and hope that the right thing would happen. And it felt like with him, always the wrong thing would happen. Like it would never go right. So this is called I've Been Here Before. I've been here before. Smells like evaporated tears, like carpet, nothing budging. Peaceful and happy for a weekend on the couch, reading, only to find more pit in my stomach. Can God hear me? Before I cried, I kneeled, I flailed around. I called people and told them the harrowing story. And then I married him. The house sold, the divorce finalized, it remodeled itself. How could I doubt? I had seen it with my own eyes, the parting of my sea, manna from heaven. I can still taste it. But I'm here again. A dark, dead end where I seem to make things worse just by breathing, just by thinking. I'm here again. I flailed around. I tried to prove. I printed every email. I made every argument, called my people, told them the harrowing story, and I'm here again. And so I wait, let the Lord prevail, I guess. I don't like it here. The cold wind blowing, and I'm drenched, and I have no towel. And someone says from afar, wait for a towel. But there is no one for 1,000 miles, and I know this. No one is coming. The heat from my body can't thaw the frost forming on my skin. And then I think, I'll get my own towel. But Walmart is closed, and the sheep are dead. The cotton fields decimated. I stand in the mess and pray for righteous judgment, for something to break open, something to go away. Nothing. I pray to my grandma instead, thinking maybe she can do something God won't. Maybe she has the answers. Maybe she's the warrior I need right now. But she too is silent. Or perhaps she's constructing something better than a towel. Who knows? I'm here again. My shoulders ache. My stomach is tight. My throat might implode from holding back my screaming. The pressure is like an icy, invisible blanket from hell. Weighted. I'm here again. I wait on the Lord. I lean. I wonder, how can this be? But I've been here before, standing bare with nothing to rescue me, tired, burdened, shivering, exposed. And I know what comes next. Something worth the wait. And so I will, because I have no other choice. Be still. The end.
Wow, I knew you were going to cry. That's deep. Thank you for sharing that with me.
We heal and we find ourselves smiling or laughing or feeling the sun on our face. But there's always something that takes us back to these hardest moments we've ever had. And I'm actually grateful that I can still recall that. The righteous desire to have a peaceful home is something that women have longed for thousands of years. I know God is working a work in us, and I'm grateful that we are here and we're able to stand on these women's shoulders. But I also think they're looking down on us. Like, I think they want to see us make our way to safety.
My goal is to help women not turn away from God because these Christian men are just using the church to continue to do what they do. My reaction was to run even closer to God. And something amazing happened, and I couldn't figure it out. For the duration of my marriage, I always felt split because this poem is not, it's not my first. I just, God gave me the words to put my pain into verse. And it's not my only one about this topic, is that we no longer have to serve two masters because we can separate ourselves from him and split on the inside, allowing ourselves to have one master, which is Jesus Christ. I was having so much turmoil because he wasn't going toward God. He is not of God. Nothing that he does is of God. You will know them by their fruits. Watch his actions more than his words. So now I can serve God truly and 100%, and I will never allow anyone, it doesn't matter who it is, to derail me from going toward God and being on that path with him ever again. For women, inside your heart, ask yourself, are you having turmoil? Are you feeling like you cannot serve God because you have to keep trying to be united with your husband? And that was one of the biggest telltale signs for me to know what was going on. And I feel like I should say the process is long, it's tiresome, it's hard. Get yourself a community, build yourself up in the midst of it, because it helps immensely.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing your story and your insights and your beautiful poem, and so grateful that you are now sharing your experience with other women to bring them hope.
Well, thank you for having me. It was my privilege. And the only thing I can say is don't think that this is the end. Your life is far from over.
And it's beautiful. There's beautiful, wonderful things in store for all of us, even when it gets hard. So thank you again.
Thank you.